Well, in Hattiesburg, a man has been arrested after admitting to killing his wife around 10 a.m. on October 26th. Hattiesburg.
What if just 13 seconds could cost someone their life? Not a fight, not a crime, not even a mistake, just a moment caught on camera. A short clip, a harmless dance at a club, laughter, music, nothing unusual. The kind of moment people post every single day without thinking twice. But for 36-year-old Zakoya Johnson, those 13 seconds didn't just spark an argument, they set off a chain of events that would end in something no one saw coming. Less than 12 hours later, she would be found slumped over the steering wheel of her car, bleeding, fighting for her life after being shot. And the person responsible? Someone who once promised to love her. Welcome to the True Crime Shadow, where we uncover the stories that hide behind ordinary moments and expose the darkness people never see coming. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And as you listen, ask yourself, could something this small really lead to something this devastating? Because what happened next, no one was prepared for. Saturday morning, October 26th, 2024. Around 10 a.m., a car moving along Park Place Avenue in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, suddenly slows down. Something isn't right. A white Honda Civic has crashed straight through an iron fence and slammed into a brick building. The front end is completely crumpled. The airbags have deployed. Glass is scattered across the pavement. It looks like a bad accident, the kind first responders see all the time. The person in the car quickly pulls out his phone and calls 911. Within minutes, paramedics arrive, expecting a routine crash scene. Maybe a driver lost control. Maybe a medical emergency behind the wheel. Nothing unusual. At least, that's what they think. But the moment they reach the driver's side, everything changes. Inside the car is 36-year-old Zakoya Johnson. She's slumped over the steering wheel, completely unresponsive. And there's blood everywhere. It's soaking through her shirt, pooling in her lap, dripping down onto the floorboard. At first, it looks like the crash caused it. But then one of the responders notices something that doesn't add up. A single wound, right there in her abdomen. Not from a crash, a gunshot. In that instant, the entire scene shifts. This isn't an accident anymore. This is something far more serious. Zakoya had been shot, and somehow, while bleeding out, she still managed to get into her car and drive. She was trying to save her own life. The hospital was only 6 blocks away. Just a few minutes. If she could make it there, maybe, just maybe, she would have survived. But she never made it. Half a mile from where it all began, her body gave out. The car veered off the road, and that's where her fight ended. And now, one question hung in the air. Who did this to her? Because one thing was already clear. This wasn't random. Someone did this. But to understand how something like this could happen, you have to understand who Zakoya really was. Zakoya Johnson was born in 1987 in Foxworth, Mississippi, a small, tight-knit town where everybody knows your name and your story. And from a young age, people noticed something different about her. She had this warmth, this quiet energy that made people feel seen, heard, valued. In high school at West Marion, Zakoya wasn't the type chasing popularity or caught up in drama. That just wasn't her. While others were focused on themselves, she was organizing school supply drives for families who couldn't afford the basics, staying behind after events to clean up, making sure no one felt left out. That was just who she was at her core. And that didn't change as she got older. Her church community knew they could always count on her, whether it was food distribution programs or health screenings. Zakoya showed up, not for recognition, not for praise, but because she genuinely cared. So when she decided to become a nurse, it didn't surprise anyone. For her, it wasn't just a career, it was a calling. She wanted to be there for people in their most vulnerable moments, to comfort them, to help them heal. And she did exactly that. Co-workers described her as the kind of nurse who remembered every patient's name, who held their hands when they were scared, who stayed past her shift just to make sure someone was okay. Patients trusted her. They felt safe with her. Then in 2009, her life changed in another big way. She became a mother. She welcomed her first child, a daughter. A little girl her family lovingly nicknamed Mini Sequoia because she carried that same bright smile, that same infectious energy. And from that moment on, everything Sequoia did was for her. For years, it was just the two of them. A single mom, working long hours, picking up double shifts, pushing through exhaustion, all to build a better future for her child. She wasn't just surviving. She was grinding every single day, saving money, making sacrifices, determined to give her daughter opportunities she never had. College, stability, a chance at something bigger. And somehow, even with all that pressure, she never lost her kindness. She kept giving, kept showing up, kept being the person everyone could rely on, which is what makes this story hit even harder. Because someone like Sequoia, someone who spent her life helping others, lifting people up, doing everything right. She didn't just end up like this by chance. Then in 2016, someone new entered Sequoia's life. His name was Kenrod Eccles. He was older, about 14 years older than her, 50 years old, from Columbia, Mississippi. And at first glance, he seemed like everything Sequoia had been looking for. He had a steady job, his own truck, and carried himself with a sense of maturity that made him appear dependable, stable. For a single mother who had been carrying so much on her own, that kind of presence felt like relief. Someone who could help shoulder the weight. Someone who could bring structure, security, maybe even peace. Their relationship moved quickly. Within about a year, they were married. And not long after that, in 2018, they welcomed a son together. The family settled down in Hattiesburg, building what looked like a fresh start, a complete family unit. From the outside, it looked perfect. Their social media painted a picture most people would envy. Smiling photos on vacations, matching outfits, beach trips along the Gulf Coast, cruises filled with laughter and bright sunsets. Kenrod would post proudly about his wife, the hardworking nurse, the devoted mother. To anyone scrolling past, they looked happy, solid, unbreakable, the kind of couple people point to and say, they've got it all figured out. But social media only shows what people want you to see. Because behind those perfectly filtered photos, behind the smiles and captions, something darker was quietly beginning to take shape. At first, it didn't look like a problem. Kenrod would show up at the hospital where Sequoia worked, bringing lunch, sometimes flowers. To her co-workers, it seemed sweet, thoughtful even. A husband checking in on his wife during a long shift. But those visits didn't stay occasional. They became frequent, then unpredictable. And slowly they started to feel less like love and more like surveillance. Not long after, the phone call started, over and over again during her shifts. If she didn't pick up immediately, his tone would change. Questions turned sharp. Suspicion crept in. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you answer? It didn't matter that she was working. It didn't matter that she was a nurse, constantly moving, constantly busy. In his mind, there was always something to question. And then it got worse. He started going through her phone, her messages, her call logs, her social media. Nothing was off limits. If she stepped out with friends, he needed every detail. Where she was going, who would be there, what time she'd be back. And even then, it wasn't enough. He would call repeatedly throughout the night. Sometimes he would just show up unannounced. The woman who used to be so open, so social, began to pull back. Her friends noticed it first. Plans would get canceled at the last minute. Invitations stopped altogether. The laughter, the energy, it started fading. Slowly, quietly, Sequoia was becoming isolated. At home, control tightened even more. Kenrod took over the finances. Despite Sequoia working full-time, she had to ask before spending money. Every purchase questioned, every decision monitored. And she tried to help her own mother with medical bills. He refused. That argument didn't just end in words. It exploded. Then came the personal attacks. Her clothes were too revealing. Her makeup was too much. Even her hairstyle became a problem. Why would she change it without asking him first? It didn't matter what she did, it was never right. By 2023, the tension had reached a breaking point. Neighbors started hearing it. Loud arguments spilling out of the house. Screaming matches that didn't sound like normal disagreements anymore. During one of those fights, everything escalated over something small: text messages from a male coworker. Nothing personal, just work-related updates about a patient. But to Kenrod, it didn't matter. He grabbed her phone and smashed it. That was the moment it became clear. This wasn't just jealousy. It was something deeper, something more dangerous. And then came the threat that would stay with her. If she ever tried to leave him, he would take the kids away. He would make sure she never saw them again. That wasn't frustration talking. That was control. Because at this point, this wasn't love anymore. It was control. By the start of 2024, Sequoia had reached her limit. She knew she couldn't keep living like that, constantly watched, constantly questioned, constantly walking on eggshells. So in January, she made a decision that would change everything. But she didn't announce it. She waited. She waited for the right moment, the safest moment. One morning, when Kenrod left for work, Sequoia moved fast. She packed only what she and her children absolutely needed: clothes, important documents, medications. Nothing extra. No time for second guesses. Her sister would later say you could see the fear all over her. The way she kept checking the time, looking over her shoulder, like she expected him to walk through the door at any second. Because if he did, everything could go wrong. But he didn't. And that was her chance. Sequoia left with both of her children and didn't look back. She moved into a small apartment across town. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't big, but it was hers. And for the first time in a long time, she could breathe. No surprise visits. No constant calls. No one watching her every move. Just peace. Not long after, she filed for divorce. And that's when everything escalated. The moment Kenrod was served, his reaction was immediate and aggressive. He showed up at her apartment, pounding on the door, demanding to talk. Neighbors heard the noise, the tension, and called the police. But by the time officers arrived, he was already gone, and that became a pattern. He kept showing up at her apartment, at the hospital where she worked, sometimes calm, trying to convince her to come back, promising he'd change. Other times angry, raising his voice, making threats that left no room for misunderstanding. There was no real break. Even though she had left, he refused to let her go. Then came the pressure in another form: money. Despite being the father of her children, Kenrod refused to provide financial support unless she dropped the divorce. It was leverage, a way to pull her back under his control. And for Sequoia, it made everything harder. Working full-time wasn't enough anymore. Supporting 2 kids alone meant extra shifts, longer hours, less sleep. She was exhausted, running on fumes, but she kept pushing forward, because going back was not an option. The divorce process didn't help. Court hearings were delayed. Twice. Each delay kept her stuck, unable to fully move on. And every extra week gave Kenrod more time, more opportunities to show up, to interfere, to make her life harder. She was free, but not really free. Still, little by little, Sequoia started rebuilding. She made new friends at work, people who didn't know the past, didn't carry the drama. She started saving again, planning for a future where she could buy a small house somewhere her kids could run around and just be kids. And sometimes when her mother watched the children, she allowed herself small moments of freedom. Dinner with coworkers, a night out, a chance to feel normal again, to laugh again, to breathe again. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. What she didn't realize was that while she was trying to move forward, he hadn't stopped, not for a second. Because behind the scenes, quietly, obsessively, he was still watching. Then came a night that would change everything. Friday, October 25th, 2024. Sequoia dropped her kids off at her mother's house for the night. It had been a long week, double shifts, stress from the ongoing divorce, the weight of doing everything on her own. She needed a break, just a few hours to feel like herself again. She met up with 3 co-workers from a hospital. Nothing wild, just dinner, drinks, and maybe a little dancing. For the first time in months, Zakoya looked different, relaxed. She was laughing again, smiling in a way people hadn't seen in a long time, letting go even if just for a night. At the club, the music was loud, the energy high, and at one point, a man she had just met asked her to dance. It wasn't serious, it wasn't romantic, just 2 people enjoying the moment. They danced for about 13 seconds. That was it, a short, harmless moment in a crowded room, something that would have meant nothing if it had stayed there, but it didn't. One of her friends recorded the moment and posted it to social media around midnight. Just another clip from a night out. She even tagged Zakoya in it. To them, it was nothing, but someone else was watching through one of the fake accounts he had created. Kenrod saw the video, and he didn't just watch it once. He watched it again and again and again. That 13-second clip became something else in his mind, something bigger, something personal. By 7:30 the next morning, he was still watching. Between 7:45 and 8:15 a.m., he called Zakoya 6 times. No answer. She was likely still asleep after getting home late. Then, at 8:20 a.m., she finally responded, not with a call, but with a text. Simple, direct, final. I'm not doing this with you today. We're separated. Who I dance with is none of your business. That message drew a line, a clear one. No confusion, no room for control. And for Kenrod, that message changed everything. By the time that message was sent, it was already too late. Because while Zakoya was trying to draw a boundary, Kenrod was already on his way. He got in his car and drove nearly 30 minutes, fueled by anger, obsession, and something far more dangerous. This wasn't a conversation anymore. This wasn't about reconciliation. This was about control slipping through his fingers. And he couldn't accept that. Somehow, he figured out where she was. Investigators would later believe he used information from their child. Small, innocent details that led him straight to her location. A pharmacy parking lot. Broad daylight. Normal people going about their day completely unaware of what was about to unfold. Zakoya had stopped there briefly, maybe to pick something up, maybe just a quick errand before heading home. But then he pulled in. She saw him, and instantly, everything inside her must have tightened. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here, not now. He approached her car. The argument started almost immediately. You can imagine it, his voice raised, demanding answers, accusing, questioning. That same pattern she had been trying to escape for months, now right in front of her again. But this time, it felt different. More intense, more volatile, more dangerous. At some point, he positioned his car in a way that blocked her from leaving. That was the moment it shifted. This wasn't just confrontation anymore. It was entrapment. Zakoya knew it too. She got into her car, locked the doors, and tried to leave. Tried to create distance. Tried to survive. But he wasn't done. He walked back to his vehicle, reached inside, and pulled out a gun. Everything after that happened fast. Too fast. He stepped toward her car, raised the weapon, and fired through the window. The sound shattered everything. Glass. Silence. Safety. The bullet struck her in the abdomen. But even then, even after being shot, Zakoya didn't give up. She pressed the gas. She drove, injured, bleeding, fighting. She knew where she needed to go. The hospital. The same place where she had spent years saving lives, now the only place that might save hers. She was so close, but the human body can only take so much. As she drove, the blood loss became too much. Her strength faded, her vision blurred, and somewhere along that road, she lost consciousness. The car veered off, crashing through a fence, airbags deploying, coming to a stop in a place that looked like an accident, but wasn't, because just minutes earlier, Zakoya had been fighting to stay alive. And she was so close to surviving. And while Sequoia was fighting for her life, Kenrod had already made a decision that would define everything that came next. He picked up his phone and called the police, not to ask for help, not in panic, not in regret, but to confess. I shot her. Just like that. No chaos in his voice. No urgency. Just a statement. Cold. Final. When officers arrived, he didn't run. He didn't resist. He was arrested calmly, as if everything that had just happened was already settled in his mind. Because to him it was. During questioning, the motive that surfaced was as chilling as the act itself. She was mine. That was it. Not love, not heartbreak, ownership. A mindset that had been building for years through control, jealousy, isolation. Finally reaching its most violent conclusion, he was charged with first-degree murder, along with multiple related offenses. And the evidence? It was airtight. His own confession, witnesses from the parking lot, forensic evidence from the scene, phone records showing the calls, the obsession, the timeline. There was no mystery about what happened, only the devastating reality of why. But the impact of that moment didn't end in that parking lot or at the crash site. It spread through a family, through a community, through lives that would never be the same again. Because Sequoia wasn't just a victim in a case. She was a mother. And in one single act, her children lost everything. Their mother gone. Their father taken away in handcuffs. Two losses in one moment. A silence in their lives that no explanation could ever fill. The community felt it too. At her funeral, the grief was heavy. Co-workers, friends, patients, people whose lives she had touched, gathered not just to mourn, but to try and understand how someone so kind, so giving could be taken in such a brutal way. And then came a moment no one there would ever forget. Her daughter spoke, a child standing in front of a room full of adults, carrying a pain far too big for her age. Her words weren't just emotional. They were heartbreaking, because they came from a place that should never exist in a child's world. And as her voice filled that room, it forced everyone to confront a question that often comes too late. How did this happen? And more importantly, could it have been prevented? Because in the days that followed, something else began to surface. Whispers, questions, even blame. Why did she go out that night? Why was she dancing? Why didn't she just ignore him completely? But let's be clear, nothing, absolutely nothing, about that 13-second video caused this. The problem wasn't what she did. The problem was who he was. A man who believed control was love. A man who saw independence as betrayal. A man who thought a woman setting boundaries was something to punish. That's where the danger lives. And stories like Sequoia's are painful reminders of something many people still overlook. The warning signs were there. The control, the jealousy, the isolation, the threats. None of those things are small. None of them are just relationship issues. They are red flags, and when ignored, they can escalate, sometimes to a point of no return. Sequoia tried to leave. She did everything right, and still it wasn't enough to stop him, which is why these conversations matter. Because recognizing those signs early, supporting victims, taking threats seriously, that's how lives are saved. As we close this story, take a moment to think about that. What could have been done differently? What could have prevented this? And more importantly, who around us might be silently going through the same thing right now? If this story moved you, share it. Start a conversation. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the True Crime Shadow for more stories that uncover the truth behind moments like this. Because sometimes awareness is the only thing standing between warning signs and tragedy. And today we remember Sequoia, not for how her life ended, but for who she was, a mother, a nurse, a woman who deserved to live, and a life that should never have been reduced to 13 seconds.